Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Chris and this is my Lord of the Rings hobby, and in today's video we're going to be painting Forlong the Fat. I did this model for the armies on parade this week, or last week when it was, so I got it all finished. So yeah, this is the process I used in the colour scheme. Very simple, easy to do I believe, and yeah, so we'll crack on with it. So the first colour we're going to use is of course lead belcher. We're going to get that away and get everything coloured up, metallics done, so that way we can change the water in the future and then just crack on with all the other base colours. Here's a little quick update. So of course armour, all these metal bits and spear. So the next colour what we're going to use now is Corax White, and we're just going to do this around his waist. He has a big, I don't know what you would call it, it's not like a, it's like a belt of cloth, but I don't know what you'd exactly call it. There probably is a proper name for it. So that we're just going to take our time, of course, trying to make sure we don't get any on our metalwork what we've just done. Just taking our time. So yeah, Corax White now, and then once we've done that, we'll slowly let that dry and work onto our next colour. So while that's drying, the next colour I'm going to use is Macragge Blue. I'm going to do this all over the cape. We're going to take our time. This does take a couple of coats, so you might have to go over it maybe 2 to 3 times depending on what goes on, but we're going to try and get as much as we can. Also try and avoid his hair, just to try and get that neat line underneath. So with my model I wanted to make him look really old, so what I did is I went with grey cere for the base of his white beard and also his hair, because I do want him looking like a grey white towards the end of like his old age. So that's the next colour I used. Of course maybe a couple coats on that again. And here we have it with most of the base colours done. We've just got a few more little details to do. So the next one of course is dry hardback, which is really easy to use, just a standard brown. Again, woods are always easy, dry hardback does quite a lot for that. So yeah, that was the next colour we used for those. Again, just taking our time, making sure we're not getting onto the metal or the cape, because it does integrate towards the bottom, so just keep an eye on that. So the next bit we're going to do is paint all the leather bits. I'm going to use Rhinox hide for that. So we've got the straps from the horn there, and any other little bits of details we kind of want to add on or make leather ourselves. So it could be your boots, but I've just stuck to the main things, which is the horn straps and where the dagger goes in. I can't remember what that's called now. So I use my own mixed fist, but you can use Bugman's Glow for skin flesh. What I did is I actually added grey cere in and mixed it myself to give him like looking like a really old skin colour, like that sort of grey, very dull. I don't know what I would class it as, but I added my own little grey tick to it just to see what you do, and I think it does make the skin look a lot older. So once I was happy with that, I added Xandery dust to the horn. I think I already started painting this and then realised that I didn't hit record. Again, a couple of coats over this, so just take your time. This is where you need to be a bit more brush control and just make sure that we're not going over the leather bits. But it's not the end of the world if we do, because we can easily go over it. We're only on our base colours, nothing's been washed or anything, so it's a quick fix. So this is what it looks like now. He's slowly getting there. The next thing we do now is add the gold detail onto the horn. Do have a look at the picture online, the box art, whatever you can find, because it is quite close, especially as you see this little tip here. It focuses more on my hand, sadly, because of the details that small inside. But yeah, just try and take your time with it and not... Alright guys, so this is it, near enough done. What we're going to do now is add a shade. I'm going to do that all over the model except for his skin, so we're going to avoid his skin as much as we can. If you do get it on there, don't forget, just use the tip of brush or a different dry brush, and just literally that'll absorb it, and then wash your brushes after you're done. So we're looking at the chainmail, the white sleeve thing, even the brown leathers, everything's just get caped in an oil here. Oh yeah, and just be careful with that. Once we were happy with everything being dry, I moved on to highlighting the leathers with Doombull brown. And again, this is like an edge highlight, so any mistakes I do where it goes slightly big, all I do is get the original Rhinox hide and just tidy that up a bit more. I might do it off camera once I'm happy with getting all the other bits, but do take your time on this. We kind of only want an edge highlight, so we're just going to do that slowly around. So once we're happy with our highlights on the brown, we're going to move on to our whites, and then I'm just going to use a really bright white scarf. I'm just going to find as many little highlights, raised bits I can, and give those a quick once over, not spending too much time, but making sure I've got brush control on there. So taking our time, make sure we've only got little bits, and I also then go and do his beard. So like as you can see here, I'm just like stippling whatever I can find on top and then doing the major ones later. Once I was happy with that, I moved on to his skin, which I make a mistake of there. Again, any mistakes, we just go over our base colour. It's really easy to do. I actually don't wash skin anymore. I found it easier just to build up from using just the normal paints, just going straight from base to layer, or mixing those two together to get a different effect. But yeah, once I was happy with the skin, again taking my time, make sure I'm getting those right highlights, and then I was moving on to the next bit. So this is how the model's looking now. We're getting our way through the highlights, so we're going to start looking at, I've dropped this model so many times. So again, onto our skin, keeping with the skin, and what we're going to do now is give it our final highlight, and what we're going to do there is look for edges. So I'm looking at knuckles, maybe a little bit of a colouring on the top of the hand, especially like the top finger. As you see it goes across, that would hit a bit more light. And also then looking at his nose and maybe his bit of his brow, possibly even his little bit of a cheek. But we're not going to spend too much time on this because we only want small little highlights. These are very, very small little lines within the model to make it look good. Right, so I apologise about this bit. I actually couldn't get my hand or the way I wanted the model to sit neatly. So what I use here is go for brown, and this is me highlighting the wood. So what I do is a very thin line, and every now and again I might actually just do a quick little squiggle, like a circle, like it looks like the wood where it's been cut. I'm trying to think of the word, but I can't remember. It's like the eye of the wood. I can't remember what they actually call it, like a knot. So every now and again I'll do that, but I try and do my best to like an edge highlight and just making sure it looks like a beam straight. I don't spend too much time on this because I'm not really that keen on wood looking like wood. I prefer it just to look like a pole, if that makes sense. So it's just straight sanded down and so forth. But yeah, we take our time again. As you see, any mistakes, I use my finger and just rub it off, and sometimes even just doing that will make it look good. Okay, so I'm probably going to butcher that name, but I think that's Alteroff Guard Blue, and what we're using this for, of course, is the highlights of the cape. So I do water this down a bit, and we're just going to look at the raised edges and also any of the folds, so anything what's basically sticking out of the model to make it look really good. Give it that depth. We're just going to slowly highlight that. Some bits will be slightly thicker, and then we'll thin towards the smaller ones, of course. So we again, brush control, make sure we haven't got too much on it. As you see, we'll use the side of the brush for certain bits, and every now and again we'll use the tip of the brush too to get over. Like I said, I'm not that keen on the metal models. I don't think they hold great to painting. I'm not a big fan of them anymore. So once that was done, I used the Calgar Blue, I think it was, or however you pronounce that. I'm butchering it, I'm sorry. The R on the screen, so it'll probably help you. And what we're going to do that, again, this is our fine highlight. So I do water these normally down just a little bit more, and I just brush very slightly. So we're looking at the very close edges. At the front of the model, I tend to put a little bit more of a line on there just because you're looking at it. So I tend to go slightly longer across the top there, as you can see, rather than not just looking for the edges, but any bits which, especially around the face and so forth, I tend to put bigger highlights on, because I know that's where we're going to look at most of our models. It's going to be the close-up of the faces or around there. Once we're happy with our blues, now we're going to go on to bone flesh, and this is going to be Ushanti bone, and we're just going to use this around the horn. Now, because the horn is quite congested around, we're just going to take our time. So you'll see me, I'm just going to slowly brush down at the top of where the horn is, basically where you're going to see more of the bone colour. That's where I'm going to concentrate most of my colouring. I'm not going to go and do in between too many of the hand and all the other bits, because it's just too narrow. So what I tend to do is just like maybe do the odd line, but for this bit I want to do that like a stippling effect or feathering across the top bit, get that done, get it to like an edge, and then we'll build in with our next colour. Once we're happy with our bone and so forth, all our other highlights, now we're going to go on to our metallics, and we're just going to take our time. So we're going to use Iron Breaker, and what we're going to do is look for the flat surfaces and just bring them up that little bit more, and especially this bit of top. I do apologise, it's not the greatest angle here for it, but we're just going to slowly look at getting those sharp points and building it up to that peak. And again with the armour, we're going to do some certain little lines, anything what's raised, corner edges, and also his breastplate. That's probably the bit where we're going to put a little bit more detail in, because we're going to look at doing the Tree of Gondor, so we'll make sure that's actually quite bright, so we'll show that off a lot more when we're getting onto it. So it's our final step now, and what we're going to look at is brightening up everything with Stormhost silver. So we're going to look at our main highlights, and we're just going to, like I said, we're going to get the edges, anything what's going to look at us. We're going to give it a bit of pizzazz and that little bit of a shiny details, a few little squiggly lines here and there. And especially, like I said, we make sure we're getting that tree done, because that's our main bit, our focus bit on his chest. So guys, if you have enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and in a minute I'll show you the photo of it done. These are all fun models to paint. I'm just not keen on metal, if I'm honest with you. That's the only thing I'd take away, but you know, each to their own. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.